Good afternoon, everybody. Another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Glad you can join us here, for the folks that are here, for the folks online now, and then for those of you, somewhere around 300 or 400 of you that will watch this later. Welcome. So today our speakers are Brianna. She is going to talk a little bit about winding up the landscaping information, lighting, the west side, and a personnel change. Followed by Maria, who is going to be a host of a lot of good information. X is going to speak a little bit about HHG. Cindy Woody is our guest here from Rome Security, and she's going to go over the update of our new system. Leslie Thompson is going to talk about our pet club, and then I'll talk a little bit later after that, and hopefully not too much. After each speaker, we're going to have questions from both the audience here as well as you online. We do ask that you keep your question for that specific topic at hand. In other words, if X is talking about HHG, ask him about HHG, not about the gate, although that's kind of synonymous sometimes, but wait, save that for Cindy. Okay, so first off, with a lot of important information, I'll give you a second or two to get your crayon and piece of paper out so you can take good notes, is our community manager, Brianna.
Hello, everybody. It's so good to see faces. I know this is probably the first time a lot of you are seeing the lower half of mine. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Brianna Meissner, your community manager, and it's a pleasure to be here today. So we're going to start with the amount of homes closed. There are currently 653 out of 1,149 homes closed, which is approximately 57%. As a reminder, because there are over 1,000 units in this community, that the transition doesn't occur until 90% of the homes are closed. But we're getting closer every day. I feel like I get alerts for new homeowners multiple times a day, so it's really exciting. And we have our new homeowner welcome event later this week in person, so it's really exciting as well. I wanted to give an update on HOPA, which is the Housing for Older Persons Act. We only have 121 forms out of 653 homes, so that's about 18%. And we have 77 more forms that have been turned in, but we're missing the age verification documents. So birth certificate, driver's license, it's on the form what we need. We have to be able to submit that to the state if they ask for it. So if you don't know if you turned yours in or not, if you want to call the club, we'll help you with that. But it's very important that we maintain 80% of the homes being with one resident over the age of 55 to keep our HOPA protections. Otherwise, we can't have rules that prohibit minors from using the pool during certain hours and other privileges that come with a 55 and up community. So if you are on the fence, if you don't know if you turned it in, check with the club. We'll happily help you out. And then a staffing update. Some of you might know Joni Gaskin. She's our ARC compliance administrator, my apologies. She has accepted a promotion with the Management Trust at our division office to pursue her career in community management. So she finished her classes and she's getting her license, and so we wish her the best. But if you've seen a new face in the clubhouse within the last week, her name is Alyssa Reynolds. She joined us as our new compliance administrator. We're excited to have her on board. A little bit about her is prior to this employment, she was a child services coordinator at a shelter for women and children that have fallen victim to domestic violence. She has always wanted her career focus to be on giving back to her community, so joining the Management Trust to service this community was a great fit. Being born and raised in Henderson, she's very familiar with the wonderful aspects that make this city a home, and she's very excited to get to know and work with all of you. So if you are in the clubhouse and you want to say hi, she works 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. She's keeping the same phone number as Joni, which is 702-983-8962, extension 2401. And her email address is her first name dot her last name at managementtrust.com. And that was on the slide a moment ago. So, pardon me as I take a sip of water. As a reminder, we have an annual meeting coming up on April 30th. It's going to be through Zoom only. It'll be at 11 a.m. And the purpose of the annual meeting is to comply with requirements in the Heritage at Cadence bylaws, which require an annual meeting to be held in the month of April every year. Since the community is still developer controlled and election is not happening, that's usually what happens at the annual meetings is every year there's an election. But since Tony's going to be here for another year, so since he's going to be here for another year, there isn't an election right now since Lennar sits on the board, but we're still required to have an annual meeting. So the minutes from the last annual meeting will be approved, as well as the budget ratification minutes, but it won't be a board meeting where there's board action happening. So if you're free at 11 o'clock on Friday the 30th, you're welcome to call in through Zoom, but it's absolutely not required and you're not going to miss any interesting action. On to some fun project updates. So Cindy is going to be here, or is here rather. She will be presenting after I am with Rome Security. She's here to answer questions regarding the visitor management system update and how that impacts access through the visitor lane, which I know is very, very hot topic in the community at the moment. But what I wanted to share was where my team is in the process of distributing the homeowner logins. So just so you're aware how the process works, we are having to manually create every single letter ourselves and email it individually to every single homeowner. So it takes time. Our team is really working on it, and I guarantee we are not switching over to the new system until we have 100% of the people in the system to the best of our ability. So once we've distributed every single login that we have a request for, and after we've programmed every single guest list form, we will give a 24-hour heads-up notice to the community through text and email. I'll also let Cindy and her team know so that they know to still use the old system in tandem with the new system until we are 100% ready. So we're on target to complete that this week, but if we have to push it back, we'll let you know. We are in no rush to get anything pushed out before it's ready, because we don't want anyone to be locked out of the community. We don't want guests having issues getting in. So I just wanted to share a little bit about why it's taking so long for our team, but we're about 75% done as of right now, so we should be on target for the rest of the week. About landscaping, if you've driven into the community recently, you'll see everything's blooming, it's beautiful. We have our landscape committee to thank, as well as Gothic, our landscapers, for a job well done. So thank you to the committee members, and special thanks to Gothic for the beautiful project. For community lighting, we have replaced 23 streetlights in the last month. There are 17 streetlights currently out. The reason the replacement project is taking so long is that we're working with the manufacturer to get the parts for free under the 5-year warranty, and they only shipped out so many parts in the first order. So the manufacturer has agreed to ship out the remaining 17 parts. We're waiting on a confirmation date so as to when we can expect the shipment. And our goal is to have the rest of the lights replaced within the next 4 to 6 weeks, depending on shipping and scheduling. And then my last point, some of you might be familiar with this, that we have an issue on the west side of the community with the gates. There currently is a barrier arm like this when you're coming in, and it'll open when you trigger the wait. However, it only reaches about 60% of the way across the lane, so if somebody really wants to piggyback behind somebody, all they have to do is drive around the arm. So we have an extra arm that we're not using on the other side of the gates. So that is going to be relocated so that the arms will be doing this, and they'll open like this and close like that. So hopefully, because they will be opening and closing very quickly, that'll allow the metal gate time to open and close without burning out that motor, and that should prevent people from just piggybacking in. So we're waiting on the scheduling again for that as well, but the project has been approved. Gothic and Innovative, our gate company and landscaper, will be working together. Now, when that project is occurring, that gate will be closed because the alternative was to close off the one lane, then turn the other lane into an entrance and an exit, and we just foresee too many safety issues with that. So we will notify the community well in advance when that gate will be closed, and everyone will have to use the main gates. But that should only be for 2 days maximum for that inconvenience. So that is all I had. If anybody has any questions for me about anything we discussed? All right. Well, thank you. It was a pleasure to see you. It was great to have people here in person. I will go ahead and let Tony have the floor.
Thank you, Brianna. So it's like this, not like this and this? Just asking, okay? Okay, yeah, so please, get those forms in HOPA so we can maintain our status. And as soon as you get those forms, get them in, the sooner the better. Thank you. So next up is Maria. And this is the fun part of our update because she's always got something fun and interesting to let us know. Maria.
I have a confession to make. I was unaware that today, the 20th day of April of all days, is our nation's celebration of one of the most unappreciated and under-respected super foods, the lima bean. My name is Maria DeMarco. Over my last 15 years of my role as lifestyle director, I have faced many trials and tribulations, but today I am most thankful that I get to share some good news. First, I need you to go and get a pen and paper, iPad, or Etch-a-Sketch, because I'm going to share 3 critical things with you that you absolutely want to write down. Don't worry, I'll wait. Just kidding, it's fine. 3 things. First, important announcements. 2, important updates. And 3, important dates you need to save. Are you ready? 1, important announcements. Please stay tuned for updated announcements of any COVID mandate changes scheduled to occur May 1st. Thank you for your patience. We're very patient. Also, guest policy. As a reminder, the guest policy allows a maximum of two per household, not per resident. And all children 18 and under do count as guests. All guests 18 and under must be accompanied by the host resident at all times and not another guest, unfortunately. Lastly, all guests must be accompanied by residents at the time of check-in. That has changed from previous. Number 2, important group fitness updates. Due to recent class capacity increases, yay, beginning in May, duplicate back-to-back classes that were added have been removed from the calendar. But as a reminder, class entry sheets are available at the front desk, so if you have a request for a class at a different time with a different instructor, or we don't offer them yet, please use the entry sheets or contact the lifestyle department and we can help you. Free assisted stretch demos with Deb are beginning in May. They're posted on MindBody and you can sign up for them if you're interested in trying those. Please contact the lifestyle department at the front desk if you need assistance signing up or canceling with any of our classes. And masks are still required at all times, even when working out. Thank you. Number 3, dates to save. These are the fun ones. There was an education event that was today, right now, that's been rescheduled to May 18th. There will be sandwiches served at that, so please RSVP if you want some. It is Edward Jones, The Road to Financial Independence. And as a reminder, if you are already part of or want to be part of the Heritage Golf Club, they are having their semi-annual golf tournament. And you can come to the dinner if you want. You don't have to come to just the tournament. But the deadline is tomorrow to sign up for that. So the tournament is 8 a.m. They're both at Chimera, and the dinner is at 5 p.m. Next is our Club Cafe, some of our fun specials that are coming up. We're introducing the brioche burger, that's new, and then some of our other favorites. So we're celebrating Heritage Week starting on Friday, and it will be lasting all the way until Wednesday. And followed by that is our yard sale that Cadence is having. That starts on the 24th and 25th, so 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then it's followed by a shred day. So they're taking electronics and all sorts of things. So you do have to have your Cadence card. If you don't have your Cadence card, let us know at the front desk and we'll help you get one. Followed by Earth Day planting by the social committee. That's going to be on the 25th at 11:15, meeting at the Bocce Ball Courts. And lastly, the last Friday of every month is going to be our new resident orientation, if you haven't seen that yet. So this will be our first one. And it's already full, but you can sign up for May 28th, 3 p.m. with Jay. And then the new exciting stuff. Coming in summer 2021, we're going to have wine tastings here on site, a Beatles tribute event, health fair and CPR classes, Memorial Day, and so much more. Stay tuned to find out when they are and how to sign up. And to learn more about these and all the other fun stuff, sign up to the Heritage eBlast, Cadence on the Go eBlast, and opt into our text trustee. If you don't know how to do that, let us know, we'll help you. And to conclude, my name is Maria DeMarco. Happy National Respect the Lima Bean Day. Any questions? No? No questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Always good to learn some new stuff from you all the time. Okay, so now we're going to have a word from X Ecker, our HHG president. Little background for many of you who are new here. Back in 2017, June 14th to be exact, 67 people migrated to this room, and we began our I'm not going to say protest, but advocacy regarding the gate. That's what started it all, and yet here we are, 4 years later, still working on it, but I think we're getting there. HHG became the first really official chartered committee of our community as an advocacy group. So we are going to be celebrating June 14th as Heritage Volunteer Appreciation Day. And I think Maria's got some neat plans coming up, if I'm not mistaken, so that'll be for everybody. So please be sure to, when you go to the front desk, get the form to join HHG. It's really, really important, but I'm not going to go on anymore. X, this is for you, baby. Be careful now. Don't trip over that wire with your big foot.
Look, I do have a fancy mask hanging device, though. How about that? All right. So I'll start off by saying we're looking forward to the May 1st COVID restriction changes. And before that, we're really happy to announce that on the 22nd of April at 5:30 p.m., we're going to have in this room an in-person welcome meeting from HHG, and that was really one of the most fun things we previously did, and we're looking forward to it quite a bit. From last time's update, they talked about the charters and mission statement. Those were approved by the HOA board, and they're available on our HHG website for those that would like to read those. Tony asked me to talk about some recent accomplishments. So I'm going to segue into some of the things that have happened currently. Val, who's ardently looking at his phone down there, him and I went and met with the city public works director and the traffic engineer about doing a study to change our main entry exit intersection. Now, I warn you, we talked to them 2 years ago and really, I don't want to say nothing, but how about nothing's happened since then? So they're going to do a study by, there'll be a hose out there laid on the ground, and they're going to, count the traffic and see what the flow's like. We had asked for at least stop signs, a four-way stop. Things would have to be re-engineered, and there would have to be an engineer study to do what they would like to do, which is City of Henderson's favorite new traffic device is called the modern roundabout. The modern roundabout is going in at Water Street, and it's also going at Galleria and Water Street near us. So there'll be an additional roundabout, and another one's going in at McCormick, which I think is on Cadence Vista, which joins Galleria there. So that will be a roundabout as well. So maybe people will learn how to negotiate them and it won't be so bad out front. But we think that would be a long way off. So my expectation is there'll be a study and maybe we'll get the stop signs here sometime in the near future. That would be great. For those, when you hear your gate access net sign in, log in, Cindy's going to talk about all the new visitor management system stuff. We checked the computers today right here in our business center that are for our residents, and we uploaded the desktop shortcut to gate access as well as My TMT's been on there. So if you really have trouble and cannot figure out how to get on when all of this is described to you, come to the clubhouse, please make a reservation, call them, and someone here will help you, or they will get one of our volunteers to come up and help you. We will get you logged in to gate access. We'll get you logged into My TMT portal as well if you haven't been on that. We hopefully everyone's done that. Since the last update, we got our power washer equipment. We checked it out with a group of volunteers. It worked fantastic, and the birds went right after it the next day. So they do not respect the power washer. So for all of you listening to this that helped me the last time and filled out the volunteer list from Romeo's, you will be getting a call shortly about another session of power washing. And really can't say enough about the volunteers who have helped out. Other things that they've done, we now have a newish computer, thanks to Gene Stump, purchased from him at a really great price, and 3 donated monitors up at the guardhouse so that we can have the security cameras displayed 24/7 on big screens for the guards, both the west side, when it gets fixed, and the main gates, so that they have those video displays all the time. And the little monitor that was added is for the direct connection to a DVR so they can troubleshoot it, knowing that it's not a signal issue, communications, or something else. So thanks to everyone that helped out with that one. And while we're still talking about visitor management system and gates, I'm not going to steal Cindy's thunder, but I will do a reenactment of the main gate and of the exit gates, because we've had some, the exit gates do this one, all right? And the barrier arm does that one, and the new west side gates will do this one. But anyway, the ones that do this are actually right next door to some people who live on Roseapple, and the gates are purposely closed until 8 a.m., and then they close again at 8 p.m. And the reason they're closed is during the night, obviously, is for security reasons, but the reason they're open is to try to save the motors on that equipment. And we thought that with the guards here and it being daylight, they can cover some of the issues that might come up. However, between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., or even earlier, people honk at the closed exit gates. We have no trolls. They will not respond, but you will wake up people in Roseapple. And actually, it's probably a nuisance for them to hear this stuff day in and day out. So please don't do that. And when the gates are open, that doesn't mean to go as fast as you can to get through them. We've tried to articulate this time and time again about how the gates work and how the interrogation on RFID works. But I can assure you this, the slower you go, the better off you are. And in fact, I asked, and it was recently improved, the gain on the receiver so that the range will increase when you come in the entry gate. That arm will go up just that few feet earlier, hopefully. And if you go slow, the thing will interrogate you very quickly per second and open that gate even further away than you would have been if you were going fast. So if you go fast, what happens is you might not get recognized, the gate will stay down, and the guards, really by plan, don't open it up, because how would they know you're just not somebody speeding up to the residence gate? So they're going to make you back up and get a look at your RFID tag and open up the gate. So that's why they're doing that. We even had some improvements around the gate to remove the safety pylons, but as soon as we did that, people then pretended they were going to turn around at the visitor side and then make a hard right and go in the exit gate. So we've had trades do it. We've had guests do it. So obviously, everyone should know that you're not supposed to drive in the exit gate against opposing traffic. Okay, so that was a simple one. There's a sign that says one at a time. That means one at a time. And there's a sign that says slow, and that one means slow. So, besides that, I'm not going to go into what happens when the arm comes down on you. But obviously, we're looking for an improvement with the visitor management system. Okay. Well, yeah, actually, I was going to, since this might be available on the public, I was going to say when those hoses get planted on the entry-exit, I would appreciate it if everyone would go shopping and go do things so that we can get as many crossings on those entry and exit gates to improve whatever kind of traffic flow they think of. But the problem really used to be with the school in. So when that legacy traditional school's open, at the time that the people drive in and pick up their kids or drop them off, and the same thing on the afternoon. There are people in Heritage that literally go out to the front gate and turn right and go down to the roundabout and turn around and come back up to Lake Mead because they know they're not going to be able to turn left because there's so many people going in there. That's what we want to fix. So how about the walk-through gates at the west end that are not locked? Hey, the locks work. The Innovative came out a few days ago and fixed the fobbed gates. Now, the ones that have the keypad on Gallery on the west side, there's some construction issues down there, so I think that gate's separate. But the ones that have the fobs on both sides of the pedestrian gates, both the main gate and the west side gates, work. And they ground down some nuts, bolts that were sticking out that used to make this one gate stick, and it's fixed now. Ernie Adams, can you have the traffic survey? Yeah, actually, that really is what we do want. We wanted the traffic survey to be there while the school was in. I'm not in charge of initiating the study. We articulated our points to the Public Works Director, and he agreed to do this. Okay, good on the gates. They're happy with that answer. Hey. On that note, I ought to walk off the stage. What do you think? Cleo, okay. We've seen men coming in on the west side gate when residents are I believe they're construction workers. Yes, I think that is true, and we've even had trades that have parked in the exit gate area to let cars in opposite direction. They've been warned, and I do know from Martha, who's the supervisor here, that they were told they would be off-site if they do that. So I have to take her word for it. How do you get one of these fobs? Well, they weren't giving them out during COVID, but they are now. So you can come to the clubhouse, and they will sign you up for one. Or two. Can you even have more if you can pay for them? Right. They're supposed to be per person. This one's actually supposed to be assigned to me so they could figure out that I was the one that went through the gate and not Diane. Diane told me not to say anything about bocce, so I would say that Bocce, she put out an email about it, and that's all the information I can give, but we're anxious to get going again. Anything else? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, X. And next is our invited guest, Cindy Woody from Rome Security Services. Cindy's going to go through a little bit about what we went through, or what the guards went through this first year. We've just had all kinds of issues with, mechanical, software, and a host of different things, which is quite a burden on the guards. But with our new system coming up, and we're looking forward to ironing out those issues, and I think we're pretty close to being where we want to be with this new system. So I'm going to invite Cindy, if you would.
Hello, thank you for having me here today. So, as most of you know, over the last year, it's been a little difficult. when we first started here, it was going to only be a few weeks away where we were going to have the software in order to operate the gates and conduct security like some other communities here have. And for a whole variety of reasons, it just took a lot longer. So what I want to go through is kind of just give you an idea of how things were being handled up until this new VMS system, and that's Visitor Management System, and I'll just refer to it as VMS, which is what Brianna's and the TMT is in the process of getting all of the residents getting records for all of the residents put in. Up until this is going, I just want to kind of give people an idea of an average day. This is probably not typical of a Friday. Fridays are going to be busier. Mondays are probably busier. So Wednesday. Between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m., you can bet that the guards are going to see at least 300 faces, 300 vehicles come in through the visitor lane. That equates to 21 and a half visitors per hour, or 1 every 3 minutes. But as you all know, they're not timing 3 minutes apart. That would be a lot easier if it was. They tend to come, and then you have to deal with each visitor as the line gets longer and longer. And so how we've been doing it all along is greeting the visitor, checking that day's list. That day's list is what I refer to it as the call-ahead list. That's where the residents call maybe that morning and say, hey, later on, I'm going to have Tom Smith come to see me. Put him on the list, let him in. His name gets written down according to, to that resident, the address. Maybe the resident called the week before and said, hey, next Tuesday, Tom Smith is going to come in. Please put him on the list. That's for a one-time visitor. As you know, you also have your permanent guests, and those are, you call in or you drop off a note to the guards in the guardhouse. Those permanent guests get put on into a little Rolodex file that is constantly being updated because there's always new streets and new homes and new addresses being added. So that Rolodex is really stuffed. And so the guard, what they have to do is when a visitor comes in, they have those places to look. They have the log that was filled in ahead of time, the log that is handling the call-aheads for that day, and then the Rolodex. So they have 3 places that they need to check, okay? Now, the visitor's name isn't on there, then they have to call. They call the resident. I have Mr. So-and-so to see you. Is it okay for me to permit him in? And that's hoping that the guard gets through to the resident. What we have to do then is find that resident's phone number. We look through another typed list that is very long. It's in order by resident number. So as you know, some of you might live at 123 Main Street. There could be a 123 Main Street, a 123 Oak Street, a 123. So we have to find that and then find the number. And there might be 4 numbers. So it has not been the most efficient way to handle that guardhouse for this last year. And on behalf of Rome Security, we're very grateful for the patience and the kindness that the residents have extended to the guards in understanding what and how they're dealing with the visitors as they come in. So as of when in the old way, which I'm talking about here, there was only really 2 ways that a guest would be denied entry, and that is if we cannot find their name anywhere, and I should say, we call the resident and we can't get in touch with you. You know, nobody answers, it's a bad number, a variety of reasons. We would have to then politely ask the guest to leave. So that's one way. The other way is if the resident outright denies the entry. You know, I don't want them coming in, or no, I don't want them to be permitted in. So that's the old ways. You can see that alone could probably take easily 3 minutes. And so with this new way, which is the VMS system, all of those different ways of notifying the guards of your guests are going to be put into the VMS system. by you, by the residents themselves, and if you are not comfortable to doing that, you can stop by the clubhouse, and anyone in the clubhouse office will be more than happy to help you. If for any reason you as the resident are not able to put a guest's name into your guest list, that guest will not be turned away. We'll simply call you. The guard will call you when your visitor comes, and if that person's name isn't under your record in the VMS system, we'll just call you. If we cannot reach you, then we will ask them to please use the turnaround and exit, and that's all we can do. We will no longer be able to take call-aheads, and now I'm not saying immediately, but once it goes live, so say 24 hours after everyone is notified that the system is going totally online, because we've kind of been using both ways for the last week, we won't be able to take calls anymore. So you won't call the guardhouse and say, I just want to let you know Tom Smith is going to be coming this afternoon. I'm sorry, but the guards will say, I can't take that information any longer. You have to put it in yourself, and if you can't, then when Tom arrives later that day, we'll simply call you and ask for your permission to let him in. So the one thing that's going to be extremely important is for all existing residents that have been here for a while, please log into your portals and check that all of the information in there is accurate. The most important, now maybe you don't have all your guests entered in there. I encourage you to do that as soon as possible for the permanent guests, family members that you always want allowed in. You can enter in temporary guests. You're going to have an interior designer come see you at your home next week, and they're going to come on a certain date. So on that certain date, you enter their name, and now when they come that day, the guard will see that person's name for that date, and he's allowed in. You don't even have to get called. But you want to definitely check that all of the information that's in there is accurate, especially the phone number. Because I've spent a lot of time at the guardhouse the last week, and there's some information in there, mostly phone numbers, that aren't right. And so you want to go in and just check. And if it's not right, you can change it yourself. You can always call the office. I keep saying that, but really, they are there to help. The guards are not allowed to change your records. So please don't call the guardhouse and say, can you please correct my phone number? Because we're not permitted. We don't even have that kind of access. The only thing that we can do that is ever going to connect to your record is to log in a visitor. So someone will come in, will pull up your name or your address, click on your name, and enter them by clicking on their existing name if you've already entered them in. And if not, we'll type in their name, call you, get permission, and then they'll go. Again, the same reasons will exist for denial, and that will simply be their name doesn't exist in your portal as a permanent or temporary guest for that moment, or you deny them access, or we can't reach you. So please understand that if you are expecting someone to answer your phones, if the guards are calling, because we can't call 6 different numbers. There's going to be cell numbers in there, and maybe one of the homeowners is out of town with their cell number, and they're not going to want to get called from the guardhouse here in Henderson wondering about a guest. So whatever number is the main number, usually your home number, is probably the one you're going to want to have as your main number that the guard calls if you don't have that guest logged in. So that's, let's see. So that's the new way that we're doing that. As I was saying before, we won't be accepting phone calls for call-aheads anymore. That also will hold true for notes. You won't be able to stop by the guardhouse and drop off a note and say, these are people I'm expecting later. So let them in. The liability is going to be ending. So it's going to be more secure with the residents having more responsibility over their guest lists in their portal. There's going to be a few exceptions to, I guess, how detailed a guest will be listed as. And one of the examples could be there may be some residents who have different medical-related guests come in throughout the day. On Monday, it might be Nurse Joan. On Tuesday, it might be Nurse Sarah. As long as she can show her credentials and you have the proper company name that that nurse belongs to, she'll be permitted in. So you just want to at least go in and enter your home health care company names, the nursing company names, the pharmacy names if they get lots of deliveries. If you help an elderly parent or an elderly relative, please help them with that so that guests and visitors that are coming in to assist with their medical care can come in without any trouble or any delays. Just to touch again on some of the reasons why someone may be denied, that would be because the resident is not reachable. The guards will leave a voicemail so that at least you know that someone was here. You will also have the ability to go into your own portal and see all of the guests that were ever entered into your record or entered in to see you, and you will also be able to see any denials and the reason for those denials. So it'll say resident not reachable, or I can't remember exactly what the reason is, but you'll see why. Maybe you denied them the ability for the guard to let them in. You said, no, I don't want to see this person. Or if it's a nurse or a medical caregiver, they don't have appropriate badge or credentials to show. One other exception to why go back one. Yeah. Of course, we'll always let police and EMS and fire and those kinds of things in. But UPS, Amazon, a lot of these delivery companies, they're going to be hitting many houses, in the neighborhood. We're not going to call you and say Amazon's here because they're going to be hitting a lot of streets. So there's those types of deliveries that kind of hit the whole neighborhood. They're just going to be permitted in. Likewise, RC Willey comes in, and they're going to deliver a sofa. What we're going to do is we're going to see the work order, and if that work order is appropriately dated for that date with your resident, with your address and your name, we're going to allow them through. We don't want you to miss a delivery because maybe you missed that phone call for that moment. A guest can always turn around and call you and say, hey, why didn't you let me in or whatever, but we kind of want to make sure that doesn't happen with deliveries. I've instructed our guards to be very strict about that, and if they have any weird gut feeling or if there's something missing on the work order or the order, then they'll give you a call. But if you are expecting a delivery of whether it's furniture or a big ticket item or food, Amazon, you won't have to call for those anymore. The guards will just look and, the delivery people always have some sort of order, whether it's on a phone, clipboard, something that will be able to get that kind of, and they'll still be logged into your system. We just won't have to call you. So for that kind of thing, although it would be great if you still went into your portal and entered it in as a temporary guest because it'll make the line go faster. We won't even have to look for a purchase order or a work order or a delivery order in order to expedite things and trust that these RC Willey in a big vehicle or a delivery truck or something like that, they're trustworthy to let them into the community. I think what we talked about too is if that becomes an issue, we can address this again in the future. And if people start missing deliveries because they weren't called or they were expecting them at 4 and they came at 3, and then we don't want the guards to be responsible for that, or if it becomes a problem, then we might have to change that policy and then start calling you for every one or requiring those kinds of deliveries to be in the system. Let's see. So some of the things that could impede the ability for the guards to work efficiently is if the residents are not registered in the system. And anyone who has been here for a while, you'll all be in. You're going to be part of that 100% that Brianna is shooting for, that they're at 75% now. What I'd like to do is take a moment here to address brand new residents, and that's whether you're moving into a home that is a brand new home or you purchased an existing house. As soon as you get your keys, as soon as you've completed the closing, it is really imperative that you make your next stop be to the clubhouse to get registered into the VMS system. Because if you want to wait for your title company or the county to send that paperwork to the TMT here to the HOA or wherever keeps track of that, it could take 4 to 8 weeks. And from a security standpoint, as far as the guards are concerned, once this goes live, if you're not in the VMS system, then you don't exist. So if you don't exist, even though, yes, you are a resident here, but you're not in the VMS system, we don't have any way to contact you. We don't know your name. We don't know your phone number. We can't call you and say you have a guest here. So you can just imagine, we don't want any residents here to be upset. It's a 5-minute thing to stop at the office and just get registered in the VMS system. Don't wait for your title company to send the paperwork. Take care of that yourself, and you can get your name, your spouse's name, any other people that are living in the house, they'll all be listed as residents, and then permanent guests, anyone that you are going to be expecting. And I know that when people are first moving into a home, they have lots of deliveries. They're going to have furniture deliveries and landscaping and all sorts of different things. And so it's going to be a lot of denials at the gate if we don't find that resident existing in the VMS system. So that's very, very important. And I know it's being told to new residents from Lennar at the time they get their keys. And, we're trying to just remind people also. But wanted to point that out here for anybody that's watching this that's a brand new resident. So as far as impeding the guards, that was one of the things. Incomplete records, if there's a phone number that's in there that's incorrect, transposed numbers, that kind of thing. If you're listed in there as a resident, but your spouse isn't, you just want to make sure that under the residents you list all the people that are residing in the home. Let's see, if we do call you because a guest isn't listed in the VMS system as one of your guests and you don't answer, that's going to slow things up. We sometimes have non-cooperative visitors. They cop an attitude a bit, when we ask them their name or who are they there to see, or they're not ready. Oh wait, who am I here to see? They don't know the last name, they don't know the address, so they're unprepared, to give that information to the guard. Construction traffic, and I know that that's greatly improved, but sometimes that still does hold up the line. Residents who use the visitor lane, I know that you should get RFID tags for all of your vehicles, because if you're taking up space in the visitor lane, that makes that longer, and where you could already probably be home by the time you've waited in the visitor lane sometimes if you just get the extra RFID tags. And then, of course, calling the guardhouse for certain information. We can't just ignore all the calls, so sometimes they're trying to do 2 or 3 things at once, and again, that keeps them very busy, but slows things up sometimes. So going forward, I guess the best thing to do is just to check your portal every day. Just, when you add a visitor that you're expecting later in the week, for whether it's a delivery or just a personal friend, whatever that is, and you put them on your calendar, maybe on your phone, or handwrite it on your calendar in your kitchen, make a note and use the app, which I think most smartphones support, correct? And I can't tell you how to do that. That's something that the office can help you with. On your laptop or on your smartphone, use the app and just plug in the person's name, and it will just make, everything's going to go a lot faster. And the one thing I really, really, really want to stress, because I think there's some misunderstanding and maybe misinformation, but no guest is ever going to be turned away unless they meet the criteria I talked about before, which is you deny them, or we can't reach you. Okay, those are really the only two reasons why they would ever be denied. They don't exist, on your list in the VMS system, so we have to call you, and we can't reach you, we can't let them in. There may be times when we see that same Betty is coming in every day, or 3 times a week to see you, and we come to know, and she's here to see her sister who lives here. We still have to look her up in the system, click on her name, then lift the gate, because, we don't know, maybe Betty and her sister had an argument the night before, and her sister took her off the guest list. So we can't make the assumption that every time she comes in, just because we see her 3 times a week, that she's permitted in that next time. We have to always err on the side of security and make sure that she still exists in the list and she's still permitted in. So, as Brianna said, they're looking at hopefully this week, and you'll get like a 24-hour notice prior to when it goes live. What the guards have been doing for the last week to week and a half is kind of using both systems, the old system and the new system. So we've been able to kind of see if there's anything that is wrong with the system, any little bugs. And I got to tell you, it is working really, really well. The most difficult thing is the missing information, but that's all being addressed, and it will be completed. So, I think you'll all notice, and your guests will definitely notice in the next couple weeks how much faster the line will go, especially with the cooperation of everybody who can just go in and enter those names in the system, because we won't be able to take phone calls. So the guards, once this goes live, please don't call the guardhouse to announce visitors anymore, because we won't be able to take that. So, okay. Okay, how far in advance can you log guests into the system? Whenever you want. If you want to log in a guest that's going to be permanent, so someone who's allowed in anytime, you would classify them as a permanent guest. If you're logging someone in who is coming in on a particular day, I believe we did that test. You choose the day, you choose temporary, and then you pick the day, I think, on the calendar. Right. And then that guest will show up on that day for the guards. Now, that's the one thing, is if you want to call the guards and say, hey, is my guest showing up for June 10th? We can't see that far. We can only see that current day for temporary guests, so you'll have to go into the portal yourself to see if you've entered it in for a future date. What portal do we check for accurate phone numbers? That's just the main... the ABD, ABDI is, yeah, I don't know what other systems your residents use. Okay, so it's the ABD system. Yes, we will call from the 439-5927. That's the cordless, the cell phone. There may be times when they call from, I don't know if we're going to still have the landline in there, so they'll call from the cell phone. Many people do not have a home phone number. You can add as many phone numbers as you want. The question is, many people do not have a home phone number. Can 2 cell numbers be used? Yes, but I strongly suggest that you put the main number at the top.
The primary number.
The primary number, yes, a primary number. So, because the primary number is the number that the guards will call when a visitor comes through. The guards can't take the time to call every number in your list. Like I said before, some of those cell numbers might belong to someone who really can't take a call at that time. So we'll use a main number. How long after you submit your registration request should you expect to be emailed your login info? That's an admin question.
Yeah, so once we are live within 24 hours, right now it's taking so long because we've had like 700 that we're doing all at once. So
Okay.
within 24 hours.
Okay, so once you submit your information to the office, if you want the office to assist you with that, they will have your information in there within 24 hours. If you put a guest in there, if you make a change to your own personal information, update a phone number, add a guest, that happens immediately. So once your record exists in the VMS system, anything that you do happens in real time. So that's another good reason to kind of get used to using the system yourself, because then you can have immediate changes to your record, however you need those to be. Okay. Oh, yes.
How about the common contractors like the bug guy and Scruffy the Fluffy and landscapers that come in every so often? How do you have to list all these people too?
No, so but some of these contractors, we log them over to Lennar because they are servicing things that are part of the building for the community. The post office, those just get logged in as deliveries. Am I answering your question? Are you talking about someone that's coming in for a particular homeowner?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Like the maid service.
Okay.
or services.
Okay, so for example, there was a young lady who came in last week, and she's a maid with a maid service, and she works for, I think, 5 or 6 different residents here. So as long as we can tie her, authenticate her, I should say, to one of her residents that she services, then she'll be allowed in. Is that,
That means one of us has to
no,
put down all these contractors?
no.
Everyone should have their own contractor under their list.
Right, so if you use a certain pest control company, you should put him in your list as a guest. So whenever he comes in, because he might come into the neighborhood 6 times a week, but maybe on Tuesdays, you're his only resident that he has to service, so, he might come in and say, yeah, I'm here and I have 6 houses to do. And if that's the case, we'll ask him for one of them. And as long as his name, ABC Pest Control, we can authenticate it to one of the residents that he is there to service, then he'll be permitted in. So we won't have to call you. That's why, it is best to think about anyone that comes to service anything at your house once a month or on a weekly basis or however that is, just try to enter them in. And I should also say, it's very important to remove people that you don't want to come in anymore. Because we can't make those, we cannot add or remove guests. We can only log visitors as they come in at that moment. Yes?
What about people who have lived in the community and have the access thing on their car, but they no longer live here?
Their names won't show up in the VMS. So when we
People just come in and out, so that washes that security.
okay, well then if they're coming in and out using the RFID tag,
Yeah.
that's something that we don't, the guards don't control. Yeah, go ahead.
RFID tag can be deleted from the system and not activated. You could sell your car and tomorrow I can remove that RFID tag and that car cannot come through the gate.
But somebody who was a resident and has one and moved.
Right, they can't come in anymore, they're removed from the system. It's an admin function, but their RFID tag is removed.
How can they be removed from the system?
Because the system recognizes the tag has to be enabled. Anybody who has an RFID tag can't drive in, they have to be from Heritage with an RFID tag.
Right.
And that tag can act as a FCC ID, it can be removed and not work at all. It'd be better if it's scraped it off, but
Well, and if it's not, they can come and go.
No, if in fact that we know that they left the community, we disconnect, for lack of a better term, disengage that tag. So therefore, it doesn't work.
Okay, so how do you, to whom do you?
Well, if the house is sold, we have that information.
What about 2 people that live in a house? Your name is Jones, the other one is Thompson. Okay, Jones leaves. Jones still has access. Does Thompson have to tell you?
Yes, somebody has to tell us.
Okay.
Or we have to
okay.
find out. I mean,
Okay.
that is a fly in the ointment, but we have to find out. I mean,
But, I mean,
we
you
track.
tell the front desk?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And again, if it's a sale, a home sale, that transaction is gonna go through and then we know they're all of those vehicles will be disengaged.
But they can come in the back, the west
No,
side.
no, that's the same.
Yeah, it's this, oh, that's right, that's right, okay, very good.
And-
If the gate's down, they can come in, and we're working on that.
Pardon me?
I says if the gate's not functioning, obviously,
Well,
but
yeah.
we're working on that.
Gonna hold you responsible.
And an additional step beyond that too is if you have a roommate, a housemate or something that up until a certain time was a resident, they move out, it would probably be a good idea to go to the office and change passwords or something so that if any password that that person moving out might have had to get into the VMS system, you'd probably want to go and change that. So I don't know how that would work.
I'm referring to someone before this system.
Right.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I just had a question about people that are coming in that may not have, like, particularly if it's Uber or Lyft, or somebody delivering something from Walmart who may not have an identifiable vehicle.
Right, and that's why all of those people, they have to show us something. They'll have something on their phone that will have your address and like an order. It's something that we can definitely
When you look
tell.
at the system, are you just putting in Uber driver?
Yes, yeah. So if you're expecting Amazon, like grocery delivery or something, yeah, we would put that grocery delivery company name as a guest for you. And we would not call you, because we're assuming if you ordered groceries that you're going to be there. So, but like I said, if that changes, if that becomes an issue with people missing, not being there to answer the door when their delivery comes, we'll revisit that. But I think that it's a good place to start with this because it's so common, those types of deliveries that, now for personal guests and things, of course, we have to call and get the actual permission for that because there's no other proof. Larry Lewis, is there an actual app or just the website? There's both. So as far as the administrative side and how you download this onto your phones or onto your laptops or whatever, that is something to see the office about, the clubhouse office, Brianna and her team. They can help you with that. What I'd like to say is the guards are simply going to use the system. They're not going to administer it. So we can't not make changes to any of the residents' records. All we can do is, in real time, add the name of a visitor and either log them in to open the gate or deny the entry. So it's just going to kind of be that system. And the important thing is no more call-aheads or notes will be permitted. So right now, what I'm telling the guards to do is to not take call-aheads for beyond today. Tomorrow, no call-aheads beyond tomorrow. So each day, taking it a day at a time, because not knowing when the system is going to actually go live, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and then have notes that aren't going to be usable anymore after this goes live. So we're just going to take it a day at a time until this does. Any other questions? I think I hit it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. I hope that was very informational for everybody. I think we're getting there. I mean, we really are. We've had meetings upon meetings and working with X and just getting the whole team together. And I really think we're getting there. It's well thought out. When you find an incident or something that, to your point about can they still get in or whatever, feel free to let Brianna know what the issue is and we'll try to correct it. So, and the app is great. I mean, I was in the beta test and boy, that was really, I love it. You'll love it yourself. And if you have a Facebook app, you should get this app. It's more important actually. Cindy's, yeah.
I just wanted to add one more thing. We also appreciate your patience and understanding as we're all kind of getting used to the system too, and if there's an occasional bump or mistake, we ask ahead of time for forgiveness, but we're trying really hard to be correct all
Yeah.
the time. So, and we're doing tests too, so.
Basically, we're humans. working with software, and both of them can make a mistake. So, but no, good job, and we're looking forward to this new system coming in and making everything efficient. And I think we're very close. Okay, so next speaker is Leslie Thompson. As you know, I've been advocating and trying to get folks to join what I call the dog club because of all the dog owners here. But it's going to be a pet club, because Leslie brought it up, that it's really a good point, because there are dogs and cats that we want to work with. But it's very important that we resolve some of these issues, A, and then B, have some fun as well. So Leslie is going to chair this. It's a group right now, and it's in the midst of being created. So Leslie, if you would, and please let the folks know, don't be shy of your credentials. Thank you.
Okay, don't be shy. Okay. I wasn't prepared to give my, quote, background or resume, so this is my dog world resume. Tony asked me to do this. My family, my husband and I, have been in purebred dogs for 45 years. Now, I hesitate to tell you that because you're going to think we're a little nuts. But you know, we've bred, we've shown, we've trained. My husband judges. And this is the first time in many, many years we haven't had multiple dogs. And that's all I'm going to say, multiple dogs. So because we are dog lovers, and we've always been involved with the community and the city's reaction or interaction to the dogs. And for breeders, that was often, how many dogs do you have? What are you doing with them? You know, whatever. So we've been real aware for many years about, do we have a dog barking? Do we have all of the rules? Anyway, so that's where we are today here, I guess. That's what he wants me to do. We are just starting a new group. In fact, we're just calling it the Pet Club, the Heritage Pet Club. It doesn't have a real name. And hopefully that's something we can come up with, something really funny and really fun, other than just boring old Heritage Pet Club. We are really forming. We've had one meeting. There are 3 of us who are members. And so we're just in a great spot to get new members with lots of energy and new ideas and help us get this off the ground. As Tony said, right now we're looking at dogs and cats, but other pet clubs and other HOAs also include rabbits and snakes and birds. I may miss the snake days. It's just something I can't do. But you may wonder, what would a pet club do? Well, pet-related activities. That's kind of a no-brainer. That would include socialization, grooming, training, vaccinations and chipping, and hopefully community events. Parade in downtown Henderson. It's lots of fun on St. Patrick's Day to dress your dogs up. As that happened to be Callie, that you just had the heirs, the rabbit. Anyway, we have Jamie Pulliam on board already, and anybody that knows Jamie knows that means parties, and probably pet parades and dressed up dogs and all kinds of fun things. So while we are a serious group, we're also hoping to make lots of friends and have a lot of fun. So one of the things that my family has been instrumental in, and is probably the most rewarding, was the therapy dog program. I don't know if anybody knows much about that. COVID has kind of taken care of it for this year, but it takes a little training and a little certification, but We get to go to the hospitals and the nursing homes and brighten someone who isn't having a very good day, brighten their day. One of the things that we did was took our dogs to the elementary schools. And there was the kids would sit on the floor petting the dogs and reading to the dogs. And the amazing thing, the kids got better at reading because the dogs didn't correct their mistakes. And they were all relaxed. And my husband sat there, he didn't correct their mistakes. He's an engineer, he probably didn't know there was a mistake. I'm in trouble when I get home, aren't I? Anyway, we could do things like nail trimming, teeth cleaning, ear cleaning. These could be demonstrations, they could be videos, they could just be discussions. We could talk about coat care. Everybody that has a dog that has any coat has mats. They have runny eyes, they have bad breath, you know, all those things. And if you've had a dog or a cat, you've had food issues at one time or another. They don't like this, they won't eat this, I can't find that. How can I afford to pay for what they do say I need? So food and treat issues. Behavioral discussions and agility. I don't know if you've watched any of the agility on television, but the dogs love running through tunnels and jumping through tire hoops and going on the teeter-totters. Those of us with bad knees have a little more trouble keeping up with them, but they love it, and it's really fairly easy to train it. One of my personal hopes that we can do is a Canine Good Citizens class. It basically teaches you and your dog how to be good citizens in your community, such as how to meet a friendly stranger, not getting too upset if an umbrella pops out all of a sudden. It's just a really fun, and you get a certificate when you're done. Several people I've talked to have already said, oh, maybe I can find a pet sitter. Yes, and you know what? There's even more than that. Is if you ever have a health emergency or a family emergency, you know someone you trust and someone that you can contact at the drop of a hat to take care of your pet for you while you're in the hospital for the next day. Or if you go to the doctor's office and you don't come back, he says, we're going to the hospital instead, you have somebody, a group that you can call, and they can come and help you with your dog or your cat. So I think we're going to have a real foundation of good friends. Something that I think is also important is that we provide a guiding input, a positive guiding input to our HOA board, much as the other HHG committees do. We have a really good situation here as far as dogs are concerned. We are allowed 3 pets. There's very little limitation on either size or breed, very unusual for an HOA. As problems develop, those restrictions will be made more specific. And the losers are the dog people. So that's really why I'm all in favor of getting us into a good, positive situation and keeping the situation that we have with our HOA here. We have a lovely dog park here. We have a great dog park in Cadence. And Henderson dog licenses are only $5 for seniors for a year. So yes, you have to have vaccinations to get your license, but if you love your pet, you're going to vaccinate them because it's the right thing to do. So I'm hoping, and I need some help figuring out how to do this, but I want to get the form for licensing in the city of Henderson on one of our portals, so that'll be available. And perhaps that's something we should do at the welcome meetings, too, is hand that out. And if you're wondering what our animal rules and regulations are, check out your CCNRs. They're very well explained there. The current members, Robert's on, and his border collie, Callie, who had the rabbit ears on earlier, are often seen wandering around the community. Actually, they're walking around the community. Robert is very proud that he has trained Callie not to potty on anybody's yard. It's possible. It happens. That's awesome. Anyway, if you've ever seen a border collie work, it's amazing, especially when they can take a flock of ducks and put them in a 10-foot circle and keep them there, or geese, either one. Not to mention the sheep that they work. I mentioned Jamie Pulliam and myself. Next meeting is planned for next week. We have some scheduling issues to work out, even though there's only 3 of us. As soon as we determine our meeting time and place, I'll get that information out to you. But in the meantime, anybody that's interested in joining us, let one of us know. We're all in the HHG directory. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. Great job. You know, just a moment here. The last 3 months we've been talking about having we've got dog issues with the poop and the things like that. And as I said, it's very easy for the board to come up with a solution. But wouldn't you rather have Leslie and her team come up with a solution than me? I would. By the way, why weren't there any cat show pictures? Anyway, it's no, seriously, folks, it's just listening to Leslie here, as well as all of our other volunteers. This is what this is all about. This community is us, and I got another year at least here. So as long as that happens, I want you to be in charge of your destiny and kind of let me slough off, if you don't mind. Anyway, so thank you everybody so far, and now it's my turn. So I'll try to be as brief as I can. But again, to the point of wanting you, the residents, to control your own destiny, that's part of as much as you can, as much as we can, is important. And for that note, listen to and listen to a lot of the concerns of the residents. And I would have to say 95% of the concerns that I get are legitimate. So we have some issues with some of our, I'm going to call them subdivisions within our community, duets and courtyards in particular. I've been asked to look into a couple things as the board. With the duets, we have some issues there in terms of there is a First Amendment for the duets, a special benefits area that we kind of found out about thanks to the Management Trust and Brianna getting us that information. So we're going to be having a meeting, and I'll be getting in touch with all of you via email. I'm looking for the first week in May to discuss the issues of lighting, as well as some other issues, particularly pertaining to the duets. Okay, let's next talk about the courtyards and the major issues we're having with that. Let me first give you a little background and hopefully explain to you what's transpired. Back when we first started approving different ARC requests, Campco seemingly overlooked this CC&R amendment, the second amendment, which hopefully you all have, and approved certain ARC requests. They just said, okay, yep, that looks good, that falls within here, that's really good. Now, our ARC committee had a lot of questions. Well, can we define exactly where their property lines are? And they never got an answer. Once we did get an answer, thanks to the Management Trust, our new management company, they provided the information, such as you see on the screen here, which then defined, if you will, the property of each and every owner. Now, the red lines indicate what areas that you can add improvements, landscaping, and whatever. As you can tell, they're limited to certain areas within your own property, and it's very limiting. The main area here in question, if we could go to the blue, we'll move to the blue here, is all the blue area is, according to this plot of survey, to be maintained by the HOA. And if you look at, well, and if you live there, you know, you look at the certain areas there in the blue, you're allowed to put stuff within your pillars, but to get a sidewalk or get pavers out to get out of your residence, that's all to be maintained by the HOA. Well, therein lies the problem. And what we're going to do, the board already has approved Lennar to go to the city and the county to get approval to change some wording, and let's do that. For example, right now it states that landscape maintenance easement created per this map, overall, all areas not occupied by a building structure or within those private areas, those red lines that you saw, are granted and privately maintained by the HOA. What they're going to try to work on with the city is to change that wording a little bit, basically to say privately maintained, which then will allow you, the owner, to maintain those areas. So that's kind of what they're working on. We have all the top executives at Lennar here in this area working with the city and with the county. They have asked me to let you know that please have patience because they are working with the city. This is the correct way to do it. So therefore, it's going to take time because we are working with the city and the county, and there's a long line of people and developers and contractors ahead of us. So they're going to try to move this up as quickly as possible. I wish I could give you a timetable, but I literally, at this point, I don't have one. But I know they are diligently working on this. So some folks have already landscaped, as I said. They were approved. And a question did come up, well, are you going to have to remove that? The answer is no. We're not, that's not going to happen. You paid the money, you got the approval. So that's what we're working on, that and just about anything relating to that. I've had many residents send me emails and made comments and questions, and we're going to try to answer all those questions by getting this resolved. Most of it, the right way to get this resolved is going to be, as I said, with the city and the county, but there's going to be some additional issues that perhaps the board of directors may have to make some resolutions. So again, just so you know, and we say the bottom line is we're working to get this resolved ASAP. If you want to finish your landscaping within those designated areas, you can submit that to the ARC now. It's just in that blue area that you saw that is in question right now that we have to get resolved. So as the map shows there, your backyards, the sides, between your pillars, basically, you could go ahead and submit that. And once we can get this resolved, then you'll have other areas. I would probably say if you can wait a little bit with submittals for the front part, maybe it's best to wait and get it all done once this is resolved. Okay, that's the best that I can mention as everything I know that you know, and we'll be contacting the residents by email here, trying to get any updates that we have. And if you have any questions, just email me. It's tony.heritagenv@gmail.com. Right there you'll have that. So let me know, give me your questions, and I'll answer and do the best that I can. So moving on a little bit, there's going to be, as we discussed here, Lennar will be turning over certain amenities on the west side. The dog parks, the pickleball/tennis courts, the restrooms, and certain other common areas that have been landscaped. We're going to have myself representing the HOA, Brianna Meisner representing TMT, and Jordan from Gothic will be there as our expert for landscaping. I have also asked the safety committee as well as our landscaping committee and HHG folks for any input, any questions that they would like me to follow up on. Okay, we're going to be having our financials here, hopefully Q1, the first quarter. We're just waiting for some more results coming in from our POS system, which basically is the income side from when folks make a purchase at the cafe and the fitness classes. So as soon as we have that, I'm going to convene the finance committee, and we're going to begin working on next year's budget. The welcoming committee will have their meeting. Okay, there's the information. So at 5 o'clock, the ARC workshop for those with questions, come on in, talk with Jim and Diane. They'll help you. Our meeting, the welcoming committee, will then start at 5:30. It begins with registration and a little socializing, and then at 6 o'clock as well, we'll be making our presentation. So mark that down on your calendar, and we're looking forward to everybody being there. I understand there's at least 40 people coming now. It's really a wealth of information. It's really helpful, so we'll want to do that. Okay, speeding and stop signs. We really have to be a little more diligent in terms of watching our speed. We have a lot of folks walking, riding bikes, and with that speeding going on, somebody's going to get hurt. And blowing through stop signs is also going to get somebody hurt. So please, take the time. The speed limit's 25, 15 over the bridge, and stop signs are there for a purpose. So if you would, please take care and slow down. I don't want to have to be making a decision. Do we put speed bumps in, or do we get somebody with a camera? Let's just stay away from that. It's simple. Just watch the speed limit and the stop signs and be cognizant of those around you. Now, to that point, the exit gate, as you recall, we have changed the hours there for that to be closed until 8 in the morning. Now, that has slowed down a lot of folks, because they're waiting. But it's also caused a few issues here. I've got some folks letting me know that why are people honking? Why while they're exiting? Why are they revving up their engines and then waiting that 11 seconds for the gate to open, excuse me, and then tearing out? All of that is very, A, dangerous, and B, it really disturbs those folks on Rose Apple on the other side of the wall. You could imagine when some of the trucks go by on those pavers, the sound it makes. So I'm just going to ask you on behalf of those residents, please be considerate for your fellow residents, and please be safe. Please keep that in mind. It's very important. So I would like to thank all of our speakers here. I think it's very, very informative. I appreciate all of the participation that we're having. I hope we answered your questions. And I also, quite honestly, I hope that you're enjoying these updates. We want to be as transparent as we can, and keep you as informed as we can. We had some live audience here today, as well as this broadcast. We had some technical issues with the broadcast through YouTube, but I think we're resolving that. So once again, everybody, thank you for joining us, and enjoy our wonderful, wonderful community. Thank you.